Alright you guys, so without any long preamble, today let's talk about counterarguments and what you need in order to succeed here. So when it comes to counterarguments, what you need to do is to be able to identify an argument that someone working against you would make. So it sounds fairly simple, but the important thing to remember is that you most likely won't convince someone who's got a completely opposite position than you do to make a change in their thought process. So if you think about our sample document, the issue of Confederate statues in general use public spaces, you'll notice that I was trying to suggest moving statues as opposed to keeping them where they were originally erected. The argument itself already lends to having kind of a meet in the middle, right? So as I've said in other videos, you don't want to have something that's at 12, right, your argument, and then your counter argument at 6. Right, you want it to kind of meet like this. So if you're thinking about the video, we were already kind of here, right? We want to move them, but not destroy them. So our counter argument would be that these statues should be kept in the same place, right? Because we still only have that little piece here to kind of come together. And hopefully the argumentation that you use in your essay will actually do just that, right? Convince, at least a little bit of a move, like maybe let's think about it, let's kind of figure out a better spot, something like that. So that way there is this sort of meat in the middle there. And that is what you want to do for a counter argument. You don't want to say, people think that marijuana shouldn't be legalized, and then you're like, everything about marijuana should be legal, right? Because that's way too big a jump. If your counter-argument was that marijuana shouldn't be legalized, and you said, well, how about for cancer research? That's less of a jump, okay? So that's kind of what you want to think as you're creating your counter-argument. Now, if you look at the sample document, you'll also see that the counter-argument paragraph, right, that last paragraph right before the conclusion, actually takes a second to identify what that counter-argument is, right, that they should be left right where they were erected. And then it moves into explaining, again, why they shouldn't be left there, right? So the counterargument paragraph does not spend an entire paragraph talking about why they should remain exactly where they're located, but it gives us an opportunity to say, if someone came up and asked me this question, what would I say, right? And that paragraph is, what would I say to someone saying, no, we should just leave them there? Right, so you want to keep that in mind as you're doing your writing. Don't make a counterargument that's completely opposite of what you're trying to argue. Also, don't create a counterargument paragraph that spends all the time talking about what that counterargument is. Now, of course, each argument has multiple facets. Each argument has different perspectives, and there's nuance. But we don't have to explain all the nuance. We just need a general idea of what that counterargument is, and then we go from there. All right, so those are the big things that I want to impress upon you. Don't send in a paragraph that's entirely about your counterargument. Don't send in a paragraph that's discussing a counterargument completely antithetical, completely opposite to what you're trying to argue in your essay. Right? Make sure that there's a little bit of that meat in the middle kind of opportunity already, so that way your reader doesn't just dig their heels in and say, you're trying to get me to completely change everything about what I think, right? Because it's not about completely changing, it's about compromise. And so you want to make sure that you give your reader that opportunity. And that's what your counterargument paragraph should be about. All right, you guys, have a great rest of your day, do great things, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.